In the big kingdom of Ijeri, there lived a young girl called Ola. She was very beautiful, with large brown and blue eyes, and had a head full of long black locks. Although her beauty stood out among many, the villagers could not help but think she was a witch. Olaocha's mother died while giving birth to her, and the stories surrounding her birth made the villagers tag her a witch. Combined with the fact that she had two different colored eyes, nobody wanted to take care of her. The midwife was ready to abandon her when an old woman named Nne came and agreed to care for the child. Nne was an old woman of about 70 years. She lost her husband in the war years back and never remarried because she wanted to treasure the memories they shared. When she heard the rumor about the unwanted child, she thought it was a good idea to keep her, since the father was never in the picture. She could give her late husband's name to the child. Olaocha was conceived as a result of rape. When Ebere, Olaocha's mother, discovered she was pregnant, she didn't want to keep the child, but it was too late to abort it. She hated the fact that she would carry the evidence of rape around the village and that people would mock her for it. Worse, she had already been engaged to marry her first love in a few weeks. Everything came crashing down when she told her fiancé about the incident. He felt irritated and hatred towards her, ordering her out of his compound and warning her never to return. Okeke had waited for years to have Ebere's virginity, but now all his fantasies were in the mud. Okeke had begged Ebere on several occasions for them to be intimate. But each time, Ebere would say, "Don't worry, my husband. You will have me to your fill on the night of our marriage. Don't be in a hurry and spoil something that is supposed to be enjoyed in due time." All these thoughts crashed through Ebere's mind. She didn't want to lose the man she loved to anyone. She was surprised that Okeke did not send out words that his marriage with Ebere had been cancelled. This gave her hope that Okeke might come back for her. But when the day for their marriage finally arrived, she was shocked to see her best friend Nwaka as the bride to Okeke, her one and only love. She cursed the child in her hope that she would miscarry, but it never happened. She carried the child to term, and on the day she gave birth, she lost her life in the process. Nne took good care of Olaocha, ensuring she never lacked anything a child required for a healthy lifestyle. It happened that Nne's husband was a rich farmer before his demise. Because of Olaocha's appearance, she was bullied by the children in the village. "Look at her, looking like a two-eyed monster," one of them said. "She has eyes like that of a mami water. Go away, we don't need you here," another said. These words hurt her deeply, but she coped with the soothing words from her mother, Nne. When Olaocha turned 10, Nne was 80, and around that time she fell sick. Different medications were administered to her, but instead of getting better, she worsened. Months passed, and Nne did not recover. One morning, while Ola was cleaning Nne's body, Nne stopped her and told her to listen to what she had to say. "Ola, my child, you are one of the best things that had happened to me. You filled my days with laughter and happiness. I want you to know that you are important. You are loved and you are very beautiful. Never allow anyone to put you down. Even if they do, rise and soar like the eagle, with your wings spread out. Even if I'm no more here, know that I'm always with you, she said weakly with a cracked voice. With this, she took her last breath. Mama, 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 Olaocha shouted. You can't leave me. Please, Mama, I want to die with you, she said as she cried. Her heart felt immense pain from the loss. A few minutes passed and soon Nne's late husband's brother, Ude, came and took her away. And they soon started her burial arrangement. The villagers were sad for her death. Nne was indeed a kind woman. Few days later, Nne was laid to rest. Shortly after that, they took everything in the house and drove Olaocha out of the compound. They never approved of Olaocha staying in their late brother's house and even answering his name. Ola begged them, but they turned a deaf ear. Leave before I kill you with my bare hands, you good-for-nothing child. You killed your mother, and now you have killed Nne. Leave before I do something dangerous, Ude said. Ola left the compound for fear of being killed. They didn't even allow her enough time to mourn the woman she had called mother. Ola was devastated. She didn't know where to go. She was scared and alone. She took her little belongings and started on the path to the village exit. She would have loved to stay, but no one wanted her there. Not even her real grandparents. As she walked, she pondered on the last words Nne had told her before she died, filling her with enough courage and determination. She soon arrived at the neighboring village. When people saw her, they ran and hid themselves, and soon some started throwing stones at her. Go away, you witch, they said. Ola cried and ran into the nearest bush, where she hid herself from being seen by the villagers. Mother, I believed every word you told me, but now I don't know if I do anymore. I'm not a monster, neither am I a witch. Why is this world so wicked? Why am I filled with bad luck? I am never accepted anywhere. I just feel like killing myself to end this torture, she cried herself to sleep, only to be woken by her growling stomach. She had not eaten anything in the last 2 days, and at that moment didn't know where to find food, as she was not acquainted with the village. Since it was dark, she continued her journey on a well-traveled path, with the moon illuminating her way. Suddenly, she felt eyes on her. She turned but saw no one. She could hear hushed voices nearby, and her instinct told her to run. She ran for fear of the unknown. Suddenly, 2 huge men jumped out of the bush and began to chase her down the path. Ola didn't run fast enough, and she was caught and a bag was put over her head. She struggled to be let free, but their hold on her was too strong. She soon felt a sharp sting on her arm and fell into a deep slumber. When she woke up again, she found herself in a big room among many other girls, whose faces showed they had lost the fight in them. Ola began to cry as her brain registered her current situation. She had been kidnapped. Quiet! I don't want any noise from you, shouted one of the men harshly. Immediately, Ola kept quiet. When she noticed the men were out of earshot, she whispered to one of the girls, "How long have you been here?" 2 weeks, she answered absent-mindedly. Have you tried to escape? Ola asked again. This time, the girl turned sharply towards her. I have thought about that, but the few who tried to escape were caught and they were raped before they were killed. I don't want to undergo such torture, the girl said. And I will advise you not to do the same, she added. Fresh tears fell from Ola's eyes. At that moment, Nne's face appeared in her mind. The men came back with some bread and some water for them to eat. After they finished eating, it was time to select the girls they wanted for different purposes. They had the grade A girls, grade B and grade C. The grade A girls were sold to kings as concubines, while the grade B girls were sold as maids, and the grade C were either sold to ritualists or men with large farms who needed servants for their farm work. As they selected the girls, they soon reached Ola. What do we have here?" said one of the men. "This is indeed a rare catch," he added. "I bet she will fetch us more money than anyone we have ever seen." Ola cringed at the man's words. They selected the girls and put them in different rooms, while Ola was kept in a separate room away from the other girls. They called her Unique Grade. Ola couldn't sleep. Sleep was far from her since she realized she would be sold to anyone. She slowly walked towards the door. When she heard no sound, she came out of the room to find the men in the distance, all drinking and smoking around the bonfire. She walked slowly in the shadows until she found the other room where the other girls were kept. She made sure to look for the girl she had conversed with earlier and told her she planned to escape. "If you want to escape, now is the time," she said, but the girl refused and turned her head towards the other side. Two other girls who overheard their conversation agreed to escape with her. Ola insisted that all of them leave, but they remained unmoving in their position. Ola held the hands of the two girls who were willing to go as they exited the room into the bush at the back of the building. The two girls felt relieved and happy, but Ola told them that they were not yet out of danger. They walked a short distance and soon saw a baobab tree. She knew that tree. They have it in Ijeri. She quickly ushered the girls into it. They climbed into the tree and sat quietly. Ola told them to keep mute, no matter what they heard or saw. They stayed inside for a few hours and even fell asleep. They woke up to the sound of men talking close by. "They could not have gone far. We must find them, or the boss will have our head," one of the men said. "Especially the one with strange colored eyes," another one added. The girls watched the men walk in different directions looking for them. Ola knew if they had run ahead, they would be caught. So she tricked the men into thinking they had run away immediately they left the base. The men searched until morning but did not find them. They were frustrated. Ola and the two other girls were starting to get hungry but dared not move because they knew the repercussions they would face if they were caught. They preferred dying inside that tree than dying at the hands of those evil men. The men returned to their base, and not long, 2 gunshots were heard from a distance. The boss had killed the 2 men appointed to watch over Ola. Soon after, the girls saw the men moving in one direction with the remaining girls chained. The boss was afraid that the girls had gone to inform people about their illegal business. After a few hours, when they were sure no one was around, Ola and the girls emerged from the tree to find food. They cautiously walked a distance and heard the sound of a flowing river. They walked toward the direction and soon found it. They drank from the river and found some wild fruit that they plucked and ate. Later, they took a bath and planned their next move. That was when they introduced themselves. The two girls' names were Sobe and Infunaya, respectively. Ola told them her story and how she had nowhere to go and how people were scared of her. The girls hugged her to comfort her and told her that they would be returning to their village even though they didn't know their current location. They invited her to come with them, but she didn't want to. She wanted to find a place for herself where she would be accepted. She wished them well and they parted ways. A thought suddenly came to her mind as she tore a piece of cloth from the one she was wearing and made an eye patch with it to cover her blue eye. She walked until she came to a village. This time, people didn't look at her with fear. Instead, they looked at her with pity, thinking she was blind in the other eye. She arrived at the marketplace and soon saw a woman struggling to carry some bags. She helped the woman and they walked to her house. When they arrived, Ola stood there, not wanting to leave. The woman, Adako, thought she was hungry and gave her some food. She ate and still did not want to leave. Adako asked her what the problem was and Ola told her story. While leaving some parts out, Adako was skeptical about accepting her into her home, but after some thinking, she allowed her to stay. But she would have to sleep in a small room outside the main house. Adaku's husband was a trader and only came home on weekends. She sometimes needed help around the house with some things, and Ola seemed to be perfect. It was good living with them, and everything was going well. She would cook, sweep, and fetch water from the stream. That even Adaku's husband, who was not so pleased to see Ola in his house, began to like her as he saw how hardworking and respectful she was. As the years rolled by, Adaku and Ola became like sisters. They were so fond of each other until Ola turned 18 and was careless with her eye patch. Someone saw her while she was washing her face in the stream. Witch! Witch! I saw a witch in the stream. People around ran to the scene, while Ola ran towards the house. She immediately found Adako and tried to explain things to her, but to Adako it was too late. She felt betrayed to find out the truth from someone else. Ola, I trusted you. Even if you couldn't tell me when we first met, you could have told me at some point before now. I can't believe you hid this from me for 7 years. I am so disappointed. This doesn't change anything because you have been a good girl to me and my family, and I love you as a sister. But I know the villagers will never shut their mouth, Adaku said weakly as a sob left her mouth. Soon, young men from the palace came to Adaku's compound and took Ola away. Leave me alone! Leave me alone! I have done nothing wrong to deserve this, she cried, but it fell on deaf ears. When the king saw her, he was in awe. What kind of being are you? And who sent you? The king asked in a high voice, while looking at her strangely. I am human, my king, and I was born this way. And no one sent me, she replied. I know your type. You have been sent here to monitor the progress of my kingdom, and now you will be punished until you tell me the truth. Take her away and give her 20 strokes of the cane, the king said. Even when the queen begged on her behalf, the king would not hear of it. Queen Amoge felt pity for her. After the whipping, Ola was taken to a dungeon with blood stains all over her body. She stayed there for a week, given little food and water. These strange eyes of mine have given me a hard life. Nne, I wished you were here. I wish I could hold you. She broke into a sob. Suddenly, her eyes caught something on the wall. It was a nail. An evil thought crossed her mind. Poke your eyes with it and end your suffering. Don't do it. You will regret it. It was as if she had lost control over her body. She brought it close to her blue eyes and said, Nne, forgive me for what I'm about to do. Stop! Came a loud voice, immediately stopping her. Ola regained control of her body, and the nail fell from her hand as her eyes met with beautiful brown orbs on a handsome face with beards on his chin. The man looked at her with shock. What were you about to do, young woman? The voice said sternly. Ola couldn't utter a word as she was mesmerized by this handsome man. But his tone towards her made her sad. She didn't want this man to be angry with her. I'm sorry, sir. I don't know what got into me, she replied, with her head bowed down. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Understand? He asked. And she nodded her head. I need words, he said, and she replied, I understand. Stupid girl, he said as he left the dungeon. Olisa, the only child and the heir apparent to the throne of the Ogidi people. He had just returned from a tour when he heard about the recent event. His father had told him they had a spy and a witch that had been sent to their kingdom for years, and she was recently caught. But she had refused to confess. Olisa wanted to see this female his father had talked about. He walked the dungeon that evening. He first saw her figure. She had full breast, a flat tummy and full hips as she knelt down. He slowly walked closer as a thought came to his mind. Whoever sent her made sure she was well prepared. But then she opened her eyes and he was awestruck. Such beautiful eyes, he said to himself, as he watched her from a distance. He saw her picked up something he wasn't sure of and directed it to her eyes. Fear gripped him. She wanted to hurt herself. Then he shouted and she looked up, noticing him. Anger filled him. He didn't know why, but as he replayed the scenario, he was pissed at her. She didn't look like a spy or someone who could hurt a fly. I will have to find out for myself, he thought. After 2 days, he returned here again with his father's persistence. The king had told him to force out the truth from her. When he saw her again, she looked at him with a pleading look. Please help me escape. He's going to kill me. I'm not a witch, nor am I a spy. Please help me, she rambled on. And what makes you think I will do that, little girl? Huh? I'm not little, as you can see. She gestured towards herself. Obviously, he said to himself, as his head created sinful scenarios of him and her in different positions in his bedroom. He shook his head to get the thoughts away. Anyways, I'm not here to take orders from you. I'm here to ask you why you have been in this kingdom and no one knew about the real you for 7 years, he asked. She kept quiet for a few minutes while she calculated her response. Then she took a deep breath and told him everything, not leaving a single detail. Olisa found her voice therapeutic. He could listen to her all day. As she finished her story, Olisa felt pity on her. He felt the strong urge to hold her in his arms, but he decided against it. He made sure to keep a straight face, not giving way for her to read him. "I'm sorry about your mother," he said. "Thank you," she replied. "Are you sure you will be safe out there on your own?" he asked. She replied, oblivious to his question. "What? You want to help me escape?" she shouted as a smile spread across her face. "Keep your voice down, girl. No one must know about this," he said. "And I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for Nne," he added. "Oh my God, thank you so much. God bless you," she said. "I'll be back at night time, and then we can live together," he said, and then he left. Throughout the day, Olisa's thoughts were filled with a certain young woman. He didn't know why he was helping her. He used Nne as an excuse, but he knew it was not true. He only hoped he was doing the right thing. When night time came, he went to the dungeon with a cloak concealed under his shirt. When he opened the gate, he handed it to her to cover herself with it. As she did, he held her by the waist as they took the back exit. Only a few maids were around, and once they saw the prince, they did not bother to intrude, though they were curious to know who was hidden in the cloak. Olisa successfully led her out of the palace and towards the outskirts of the kingdom. "You will have to continue on your own. Be safe and stay strong," he said, handing her a bag containing a few clothes, some dried meat, bread, nuts, a dagger, water, and some coins. Ola took the bag, looked into it, and a smile spread across her face. "You are so kind. Any woman will be lucky to have you," she cheered on as she rushed into his arms, hugging him. Olisa was caught off guard. He wasn't expecting her to hug him. But then he wrapped his arms around her small waist, hugging her back. As Ola walked, Olisa felt as though she was living with his heart. "It's safe this way," he said, as he returned to the palace. The next morning, he was woken by a loud bell sound. "Son, the witch has escaped, and we must find those who helped her. I know it's not possible for her to escape on her own," his father said angrily. "What if she disappeared, father? Haven't you thought about it?" "She's a witch, as you said," Olisa said nonchalantly, trying to trick his father. "No, she did not disappear. If she could, why did she not do so earlier? She was helped, and I must find that person and punish him or her severely. Guards, search everywhere and bring me that witch," he said, determined. Olisa was a bit scared. What if she was still within reach? He asked himself. No, I must join the search to make sure she is not found. Olisa sent some men into different directions while he went towards the direction where Ola had left from. He walked for several hours, and when there was no sign of her, he gathered the guards and then returned to the palace. "Father, I don't think she's still in this kingdom. She's long gone. We should continue with our lives like this never happened," he said. "No!" the king said, flipping the table over. "She cannot be gone. I must find her," he replied. "Father, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. She had never hurt anyone. She didn't even look like one that could hurt a fly. And why do you think she was a witch? Because of her eye color, I presume. It's not enough to label her a witch. So let's get this over with and focus on more important things," Olisa said. "Who do you think you are to talk to me like that? I am your father and the king of this land, so you must accord me with respect," the king said angrily. I'm sorry, father. With all due respect, you are the king, but you are not acting like one, Olisa said, walking away. Come back here, his father barked, but Olisa did not listen. The father and son does not have the best relationship. They quarreled at every given time over trivial things. Olisa had a problem with his father's impulsive actions. While his father wanted Olisa to follow his ways, but Olisa would not hear of it. Ola was more careful as she traveled. She wanted to wait out the night and continue her journey at dawn, but that would be putting herself in more danger. She was sure if the king caught her the second time, he would kill her without a second thought. She traveled all night and rested when she was sure she was far away from Ogidi. She sat under a tree as she ate some bread and meat given to her by Olise. An unknown feeling filled her body. No one except Nne had been so kind to her while knowing her true nature. And then it occurred to her she didn't even know his name or who he really was. After eating, she walked her way around the village, and it was her first time in a village that no one actually looked at her. Everyone went around doing their businesses. Ola thought of what she would do in this village to earn money and still kept a low profile. A beautiful pot caught her eyes as she walked slowly to touch it and felt the texture. It's beautiful, I know, someone said from behind her. She quickly snatched her hand and muttered, I'm sorry, to the person. No, it's okay. I'm glad you admire my work enough to touch it. What's your name and where are you from? I'm from Ijeri and my name is Olaocha, she replied. Okay, so what have you come here to do? He asked. To find my life essence, my purpose and destiny, she answered. Let your heart lead you, my child, he replied. Adigwe was a potter. He made earthen pots from different clay into different textures and sizes. Not many appreciated his work, but the few who did were enough for him. He had learned the skill from his late grandfather, and ever since then he had wanted to pass the legacy to someone dear. But unfortunately, his children had no interest in his art. He felt drawn to Ola, and he asked her, Would you like to learn? I can teach you everything for free, he said, eager for her positive response. Really? I would really like that, but I have nowhere to stay, as I just got to this village, she replied. It's okay, my child. I have a room attached to this shop. I will introduce you to my wife later today and inform her of the recent arrangement. Ola was so happy. She hoped that everything would be better for her onwards. Throughout the day, Adigwe taught her about clay and textures, and she was enjoying every bit of it. By evening, she went home with him and was introduced to his wife and 3 children. Mrs. Adigwe was so nice to her, but for some reason, she felt their only son didn't like her, but she ignored him. The 2 girls were so nice to her too. She felt she had met her new family. She learned pottery during the day, and then she would sometimes go to Adigwe's house to have dinner, then return to the shop to sleep. Ola felt the negative energy coming from Adigwe's son Ike, so she made it her priority to stay off his path. The family never asked her about her eye patch, but she was sure they were curious. She planned to tell them before someone else does. After the quarrel with the king, Olisa took his belongings and few supplies and left to continue his tour around the world, learning different cultures, traditions and languages. Ola had been learning the art of pottery for a year, and she thought she was ready to tell them her secret. She called them into her hut and said, "There's something I would like to share with you. Please, don't let this change the way you see me. I am still the same Ola." And then she removed her eye patch, showing them her eye. Shock visible on their faces, and soon they regained their composure. "Why have you been hiding it from everyone?" Adigwe asked. "People who knew me with this eye color tagged me a witch. Please don't hate me, please," she cried. "This doesn't change anything, my child. We are solidly behind you," Adigwe said. "You are beautiful," one of Adigwe's daughters said shyly. "Thank you. I'm glad you accept me the way I am," she smiled. All these happened without Ike. The family knew how he was towards Ola, and they respected his choices. 3 years later, Ola was now a master of her craft. In the kingdom of Alago, there was a celebration held in the kingdom which included a competition. The winner would be given a huge prize. Everyone was in anticipation of that celebration, which was held every 5 years. Every participant in the competition was expected to bring something unique. Ola decided that she was going to make a unique earthen pot from a unique clay she had found months ago while sourcing for clay. She kept it for a special occasion. She discussed it with Adigwe, and he was in full support of the idea. Ola made the earthen pot with so much care, paying rapt attention to the intricate details. She successfully made the pot 2 days before the festival, and it was one of her best work yet. Adigwe praised her for her beautiful creation. On the day of the festival celebration, everyone was busy making finishing touches to their works. Ola went to the shop to carry her pot when she saw that it was broken into 1,000,000 pieces. "No, no," she shouted. "Why would anyone do this to me? Who did I offend?" she lamented as she walked out of the shop with a tear-stained face. She saw Ike leaning towards the wall, and then he smirked at her and left. Ola felt her strength leave her body. At the moment, she wanted to be alone, to cry her pain away. She walked towards the lonely path, and there she saw an earthen pot, more beautiful than anything she had ever seen. She looked around to see who was playing tricks on her, but found no one. She calmly examined the pot as she traced her palm around the intricate pattern and unique texture. "Ola, you must run before it's too late," she heard. She turned sharply but saw no one. She knew that voice. It was Nne's voice. "Thank you, Nne," she muttered. She ran as fast as her legs could carry. As she reached the venue, the festival had already started. She then joined them, and when her turn came, she presented her pot as everyone gasped. "This is indeed beautiful," said the chief. "We have chosen 5 people for this year's competition. Nkiru the hairdresser, Aka the magician, Uri the dancer, Oma the singer, and Ola the potter." "What? I made it to the final round?" She smiled. All that while, Ike's heart was filled with bitterness. He had destroyed that pot that morning to teach Ola a lesson. Since Ola came to their house, his father never stopped talking about her. His father was so proud of her that it made Ike so jealous. Now, we will leave the last round for the people to vote who the winner will be. Whoever you think deserves to win, go and stand behind that person. The chief said. Majority of the crowd went and stood behind Ola. A wild smile spread on her face, with her heart beating fast. It was obvious to everyone who the winner was, as she was given the huge prize of 5,000 gold coins and a congratulation by the chief. At that moment, Ola removed her eye patch, and for the second time, gasp filled the air. Thank you everyone for voting for me. I really appreciate it. I want to use this opportunity to show everyone who I am. I have been judged wrongly by people who know nothing about me. I feel scared whenever I move from one place to another. People don't fail to call me a witch or a monster. I am like everyone in this place. I want to be free to live my life like every one of you, because I am no different. So please, don't treat me differently, she said. Joyful shouts filled the air as she ran into Adigwe's arms, hugging him with joyful tears in her eyes. I don't know how you did it, but you have done so well, my child. Ola, you are indeed a destined child. Ola placed the bag of coins in Adigwe's hands as a smile spread on her face. As she turned her back, she heard a familiar voice saying congratulations to her. She rushed into his arms. How many times will I be surprised today, she said, with his arms wrapped around her. He hugged her tightly. He promised to meet her when the festival was over. There were foods and drinks, and everyone ate and drank to their fill. Whenever she looked in his direction, he was already looking at her, and this made her blush. It was hours after everyone left for their homes. Olisa was surprised when he saw her there. He was invited by his friend who was also attending the festival. He attended since he had nowhere better to be, but it was the best decision he made. He got to see the woman whose eyes had tormented him for years. After everyone left for their home, he went and held her hand as they walked through the moonlit night. Your name? I don't know your name, Ola asked, looking at him. Olise, that's my name. You know, we never had time for introductions then. But now, I have all the time in the world, he said, with a subtle smile on his face. He stood and made her face him. You are so beautiful, Ola, he said, as the moon cast its glow on Ola's face. Ola smiled brightly. Not a day goes by that I don't think about you. I feared that something had happened to you, but today, after seeing you, I felt like a weight had been let off my chest. I love you, Ola. From the very first day I saw you trying to hurt yourself. I don't know if you feel the same way about me, he said. Today had proven to be the best day yet in my life. I liked you, Olisa, but I didn't know if our path will cross again, or what if you did not like me. So I tried to focus on other things. But seeing you today had woken the feelings I thought were dead. I love you too, Olisa. Thank you for giving me a chance at life that day. If not for you, I would have been killed by the king, she said. You have nothing to worry about. I will deal with my father in due time, he said. Your father? You mean the king is your father? She asked. Don't tell me you are going to change your mind about us, he asked with a panicked voice. No, I was just surprised. And I'm not going to lie, I am scared of your father. I can still remember the way he looked at me years ago, she said sadly. Don't worry about him. You have me now. I will keep you safe at all times. With this, they shared a kiss, and it was perfect. The condition whereby someone has two different eye colors, it's called heterochromia. It can be hereditary, sometimes it's caused by a disease. The few morals of this story: don't be bound by the words or advice of others. It might trap, misguide, or kill you. Don't be scared of taking risk. Life itself is risky. And lastly, after rain comes sunshine. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. Please share with your family. Bye. See you on the next one.